It is just before 11 a.m. on August 30th, 2023. The sun is already baking the red rocks of Ivins, Utah. It is a wealthy, quiet neighborhood, the kind of place where people move to find peace, to look at the mountains, to retire in luxury. But on this morning, that peace is shattered by a doorbell. A resident opens his door. Standing on his porch is not a neighbor or a delivery driver. It is a child. A 12-year-old boy named Russell. But he doesn't look like a child. He looks like a casualty of war. He is emaciated, his skin pulled tight over his ribs, his eyes wide with a terror that no boy should ever know. He is covered in dirt and open wounds. But the most chilling detail isn't the blood. It is what is wrapped around his limbs. Thick silver duct tape is bound tightly around his ankles and his wrists. Underneath the tape is plastic saran wrap, and beneath that, the skin is raw and destroyed. Russell doesn't cry. He is eerily calm, driven by pure survival instinct. He looks at the stranger and asks a question that stops the neighbor's heart.
Yes.
Hi, I was just wondering if you could do 2 favors.
Well, what are they?
Taking me to the nearest police station. Well, actually, just one's fine.
The neighbor freezes. He looks at the boy's wrists. He realizes this isn't a prank. He realizes the tape isn't just there to bind him. It's covering deep injuries where the boy has been tied up. The neighbor's voice trembles as he dials 911.
I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door asking for help. And he's said he just came from a neighbor's house, and we know there's been problems at this neighbor's house. He's emaciated, he's got tape around his legs, he's hungry, and he's thirsty.
Okay. Is your door locked?
No, I'm sitting outside with him on the front patio.
Okay, cool.
And he asked us to call the police.
What's
So
his
he's
name?
very afraid.
When the police arrive, they think they are responding to a runaway, maybe a bad case of neglect. But what they are about to uncover is a house of horrors disguised as a sanctuary of healing. They are about to find a panic room, a hidden sister, and a journal that details the systematic torture of 2 children. And the women responsible? One is a therapist who believed she spoke for God. The other is a mother loved by millions online. This is the story of how a YouTube empire crumbled into a dungeon. This is the case of Ruby Franke and Jody Hildebrandt. Welcome to Case File Chronicle. To understand how Russell ended up on that porch, we have to go back 8 years and 300 miles north to Springville, Utah. We have to go back to a world that looked perfect. In 2015, Ruby Franke and her husband Kevin turned on a camera. They launched a YouTube channel called 8 Passengers. The idea was simple: document the chaotic, wholesome lives of a large Latter-day Saint family. It was a phenomenon. At its peak, the channel had nearly 2.5 million subscribers. They were the all-American family. Ruby was the matriarch, organized, strict, but seemingly loving. They lived in a beautiful home. They went on vacations. The money poured in millions of dollars in sponsorships and ad revenue. But if you looked closely, the cracks were there from the beginning. Ruby practiced a brand of parenting she called tough love. But to thousands of viewers, it just looked like cruelty. There was the video where her teenage son, Chad, played a prank on his little brother. Ruby's response wasn't to ground him. She pulled him out of school and took away his bedroom. For 7 months, Chad slept on a beanbag chair in the living room. No bed, no privacy, just a beanbag. Then there was the incident with 6-year-old Eve. The little girl forgot to pack a lunch for school. Ruby filmed herself driving to the school not to drop off food, but to tell the teacher she wouldn't be bringing any. She looked into the camera lens and told millions of strangers that her 6-year-old needed to go hungry to learn personal responsibility. People noticed. Viewers called Child Protective Services. Petitions were signed online, but every time authorities checked, the Frankes had an answer. The house was clean. The kids were fed. It was just strict parenting. The case was closed. But by 2022, the cameras stopped rolling. The 8 passengers channel went dark. The family vanished from the public eye, and in that silence, a new figure entered the frame. A woman who would take Ruby's strict nature and twist it into something demonic. Her name was Jody Hildebrandt. Jody Hildebrandt wasn't just a friend. She was a licensed therapist. She ran a business called Connections, charging thousands of dollars to help people heal. But Jody wasn't interested in traditional therapy. She was interested in control. Jody preached a philosophy she called truth versus distortion. In Jody's world, distortion was anything that went against her rules. If you loved your spouse more than Jody's teachings, distortion. If you questioned her methods, distortion. If you allowed your children to be children, distortion. Ruby Franke didn't just hire Jody, she became her disciple. She became a mental fitness trainer. The transformation was absolute. Jody convinced Ruby that her husband, Kevin, was living in distortion. She claimed his struggle with pornography, an issue Kevin later said was minor, made him a danger to the family. In July 2022, following Jody's command, Kevin moved out. He was told he could not see his children until he was clean. For over a year, the father of the family was erased, isolated and kept away, while Jody Hildebrandt took his place. With Kevin gone and the 2 oldest children having left the house, Ruby was left with the 4 youngest. And that is when the move happened. Ruby took the 2 youngest 11-year-old Russell and 9-year-old Eve and moved them 300 miles south into Jody Hildebrandt's massive fortress in the desert of Ivins, Utah. The house was beautiful on the outside, but inside, it was being turned into a prison. Let's go back to that morning in August. Russell is sitting with the neighbors, drinking water, waiting for the police. When officers arrive at Jody Hildebrandt's home, they find a bizarre scene. Jody opens the door holding her phone. She is defiant. She refuses to step outside until officers detain her. Police enter the house under exigent circumstances, meaning they believe lives are in immediate danger. The house is massive, over 10,000 square feet. It feels like a compound. As they sweep the rooms, they find something chilling. There is a panic room, a safe room beneath the garage, guarded by a heavy, vault-like door. Inside, they find the tools of the trade. They find ropes. They find handcuffs. They find weights used to anchor a human being to the floor. But Russell had told them something else. He said his little sister Eve was still in the house. Officers fan out, searching room after room. It is silent. Finally, in a large, empty bedroom with no furniture, they find a closet door. They open it. Huddled in the corner, legs crossed, is 9-year-old Eve. She is terrified. Her head has been shaved bald. She looks like a prisoner of war. She refuses to move. She refuses to speak. When officers try to talk to her, she whispers that she can't leave because she doesn't want to be in distortion. She keeps asking, "Where is Jody? Is Jody okay with this?" She is so brainwashed that she is more afraid of disappointing her captor than she is of the police. It takes 4 hours. 4 hours of gentle coaxing. Finally, officers offer her a slice of pizza. The hunger wins. She eats the personal pizza, then half of a large pizza, confirming she hasn't eaten a real meal in days. Ruby Franke was not in the house when the raid happened. She arrived later, driving up to the scene while police were still processing evidence. She was stone-faced as they placed her in handcuffs. She didn't ask about Russell's wounds. She didn't scream for Eve. She just went silent. But as police processed the scene, they found something even more damning than the ropes. They found Ruby's journals. Usually, in cases like this, we have to guess what the abusers were thinking. Not this time. Ruby Franke wrote it all down. Investigators recovered over 60 pages of journals. These entries reveal a descent into religious madness. Ruby and Jody didn't see Russell and Eve as children anymore. They saw them as vessels for demons. The abuse wasn't punishment. In their minds, it was an exorcism. Ruby wrote about Russell. She called him a compulsive liar and described him as having a cold, dead heart. She wrote about poking him with a cactus spine to wake him up from his demonic trance. She detailed how they treated the wounds they inflicted. When the handcuffs cut into Russell's wrists, tearing the skin down to the muscle, they didn't use medicine. They used a mixture of cayenne pepper and honey. They slathered this burning paste into the open, raw wounds of a 12-year-old boy, then wrapped it in saran wrap and duct tape. One entry described an earlier escape attempt by Russell in July. He had run into the desert. Ruby and Jody hunted him down. Ruby called it a miracle that they caught him. She wrote about holding her hand over his mouth and nose to restrict his breathing, telling him, "The devil lies to you. He says I am hurting you, but I am saving you." But the journals revealed a plan that was even more terrifying. Ruby wrote about buying a massive 500-acre plot of undeveloped land in Arizona. She wrote that the children needed a good kick from a horse and hard labor in the desert to truly be cleansed. Prosecutors would later state a chilling fact. Russell didn't just save himself when he picked those handcuffs and climbed out that window. He stopped a murder. If the family had moved to that isolated land in Arizona, miles from neighbors, miles from water, Russell and Eve likely would never have returned. The evidence was undeniable. The perfect mother was gone. In her place was a monster. In December 2023, both women pleaded guilty, but their reactions in court were very different. Ruby Franke, perhaps finally seeing the reality of what she had done, turned on Jody. In her statement, she claimed she had been brainwashed, living in a dark delusion where she believed she was saving her children's souls by destroying their bodies. She wept as she apologized to her little chicks. Jody Hildebrandt, however, remained defiant. She stood before the judge and claimed, "I sincerely love these children. I only desire for them to heal." The prosecutor, Eric Clark, wasn't having it. He delivered a statement that silenced the courtroom. He refused to call it a home. He described the environment as a concentration camp-like setting. He detailed how Russell and Eve were regularly hog-tied, hands and feet bound together behind their backs, lifting their limbs off the ground while they lay on their stomachs for hours. He described the starvation, the isolation, the systematic dehumanization of two innocent children. On February 20th, 2024, the judge handed down the maximum sentence allowed by Utah law. Both women were sentenced to 4 consecutive terms of 1 to 15 years in prison. They will likely spend the next 30 years behind bars. The women are in prison. The house in Ivins sits empty, but the story isn't over. Kevin Franke is fighting a legal battle to regain custody of his children, trying to prove he was a victim of Jody's manipulation, not an accomplice. But the true hero of the aftermath is Shari Franke, the eldest daughter. She didn't hide. She went to the Utah State Legislature. In late 2024, she testified, demanding laws to protect child influencers. She told lawmakers there is no such thing as an ethical family vlogger. She described her childhood as unpaid labor, her trauma sold for clicks. Russell and Eve are recovering. Prosecutors say they are light years better. They have gained weight. They are playing. They are free. Ruby Franke wanted the world to watch her family. She wanted to be the authority. In the end, she showed us something we can never unsee. She showed us that evil doesn't always hide in the shadows. Sometimes it hides behind a ring light, a smile, and a subscribe button. This has been Case File Chronicle.